Welcome to Table Bible Studies with Dan and Ben. Table Bible Studies are posted every Thursday. Today, Dennis and Benedicta continue their study of the Apostle Paul. As is often the case, we find Paul on the move again in the beginning of Acts chapter 17.
We're going to pick up our study of Paul as he is headed for Thessalonica.
Okay.
Now, Thessalonica may sound familiar because we have a book in the Bible, actually two epistles, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians.
Okay.
So Paul was writing to the believers, just like if he wrote to some believers in New York City, he'd be writing 1st and 2nd New York Cityans or something. So we're following Paul around. He is a man on the go. He can't stay still for too long. And it says in chapter 17, verse 1, they passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia. They came to Thessalonica. There was a synagogue. And then verse 2, Paul, as his custom was, went in to them, that is, to the Jews at the synagogue.
Okay.
That was what he did. And it says, for 3 Sabbaths reasoned with them from the Scriptures. Why the Sabbaths? Well, that's when they all met. So similar to us going to church on Sunday, and he went to synagogue every Sabbath, which would have been a Saturday, and he would teach the Scriptures, and they allowed him to do it. But I want to kind of highlight that statement, Paul, as his custom was, went to the synagogue. Paul had customs. He had routines. He had patterns of ministry.
Yeah.
Does that seem reasonable to you, that you would have patterns that you would follow in your ministry?
Yeah, I think that is reasonable. I think it makes sense, if you have a pattern, each time anything comes up, they will know this is you. And I like it. It's good, not, all over the place, because if you're doing things differently, you may get people confused, I guess, but one thing is like the way he was doing it, having a pattern of doing things. Each time he gets to a place, he, because, he was successful the first time, so why not do it the second time and the third time?
Well, there's a key there. In other words, if it works well, keep on.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, try something else.
Change,
So Paul found something that worked for him. He'd go to the synagogue, he'd preach, and then he'd usually go on elsewhere to preach to the Gentiles.
Yeah.
But he did have customs. He did have patterns. Every preacher does it. Every evangelist, every pastor. When we were going to Africa frequently, we had a pattern that we did, and we followed it. Once you find what works. I think about Billy Graham, and I was a big follower of Billy Graham when he was preaching and evangelizing. And if you saw one Billy Graham crusade, sermon, and event, you pretty well knew how they were all going to go. The sermon might change, but he would start out and the crowd would, there would be, Cliff Barrows would come out and lead the crowd in singing, and they would have musicians come and do their special songs. Then he would have George Beverly Shea do a final solo number, a song.
Okay.
And then Billy Graham would be introduced. He'd come up and he would preach. Then he'd give an invitation. And if you listen to they still air some of his old crusade meetings. If you listen to them, the invitation sounds almost identical in every one of them. I mean, right down to the same words. If you came in a bus, they'll wait. He said that every time. He said, we want you to come forward, come stand at the front. We'll give you some literature. We'll have a prayer with you. And I mean, it was just almost identical. And yet, and he followed that year after year, decade after decade throughout his ministry. He found something that worked and he stayed with it. And God was pleased to bless him and to bless people through it.
Yeah.
So no doubt his thought was, well, it's working.
Yeah.
I did it last year and it worked. Let's see if it works this year. And he did. And he just stayed with it. Well, Paul was that way.
Yeah, the key here is knowing what you are called to do.
Exactly.
If you know what you are called to do, now God will give you a pattern or, a procedure on how that is going to go. And by the time you figure it out and you find a way to do that and, starting small and it works. So you can just keep doing it and God will increase it.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with repeating things that God has blessed and established and called you to do. Now, if you're just doing something that doesn't work and God has never called you to it, then give it up and find something that does work.
And I have a question.
Okay.
My question is it wise to copy what someone else is doing?
Yeah.
And then, try to copyright it or make it your
Emulate
own.
it.
Emulate it.
Right.
And or is it like you just have to scramble here and scramble there until, keep trying until you make it?
Yeah.
Or is it like, okay, this pattern, I like it, I'll try it. And then, make it your own.
Well, in the early stages of your ministry,
Yeah.
you don't really know for sure how you're supposed to do things.
Yeah, you're right.
And so you try things. And typically, if you had somebody you admired, you kind of follow in their footsteps for at least a little while. And then, again, if it works, you stay with it. If it doesn't, you discard
change.
it. So is it wise to copy people? Well, not word for word and, not necessarily everything, but you can learn things.
Yeah.
And for example, when I studied Billy Graham, I had a time in my life where God just flat out told me through a dream I was to study Billy Graham. I dreamed I was in a classroom. And in those days, my heart was really wanting to be an evangelist and do evangelism. I had a dream one night that I was in a classroom and Billy Graham was the teacher, standing at the front of the class by the chalkboard, teaching.
Wow.
That was the dream. It wasn't too deep. There wasn't a lot of details to it.
Yeah.
But that was the dream. When I woke up, it was as clear as day. I didn't need to go to some dream interpreter.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to learn from Billy Graham.
Right.
So I spent a year, just about 1 year, where almost every day of that year, I would listen to a Billy Graham sermon, sometimes over the radio, sometimes through a cassette tape, sometimes through television. And I got some Billy Graham materials. I got some books by Billy Graham. I became like a Billy Graham enthusiast and I just wanted to drink in whatever made him successful.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't turn into a Billy Graham.
No.
But I learned some principles from Billy Graham. I learned that Christ must always be preached. One of the things interesting about Billy Graham, it wouldn't matter what subject he was on. He might be talking on the family. He might be talking about marriage. He might be talking about the end times. It didn't even matter. But whatever his sermon theme was, at a certain point in his preaching, he would pivot and shift. And he'd start talking about how Jesus died on the cross for your sins.
Yeah.
And then he'd talk about how he rose from the dead. Now, I learned that principle. I didn't learn to copy Billy Graham's voice. I couldn't have done that if I wanted to. He had a magnificent voice. I couldn't copy that.
Yeah.
Nor could I really copy his sermon style. But boy, I sure learned that you want to get the preaching of Christ and the cross and the resurrection in your sermon.
Yeah.
He had another, we're getting a little off track, but you asked a good question.
Okay.
He had another point that I learned from. Throughout his sermon, most times, he would use the word you.
Yeah.
Y-O-U. He would say something like this. Some of you are lonely and you're confused and you don't know where to go. Some of you, he would say. Or he would say, some of you have done such terrible things you don't think God could forgive you.
Yeah.
He used the word you. And I realized that all good evangelists use that word. In other words, you want these people to feel like you're talking straight at them.
Yeah.
He didn't say, well, there are some sinners that feel lonely and confused. He said, some of you. And what that meant is if you're sitting in Billy Graham's audience or you're watching it on television, you're saying, he's talking to me. Some of you, and I feel lonely and confused. He's talking to me.
Okay.
Or some of you have felt you've done such terrible things you don't think God could forgive you, but I want you to know he can. Again, you, and if you fit that case, you would start thinking he's talking to me.
Yeah.
That's what they need to know. So I learned that. And when I preached as an evangelist, particularly in Africa and Indian places, I copied him. Some of you.
Yeah.
And to get the people, to get the people to realize that this word is coming straight to them.
Right.
So yes, I did copy Billy Graham in some respects, but I could not possibly turn myself into a Billy Graham.
No.
I wish I could have. I would have if I could have pushed a button, but I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I have to be Dennis,
Yeah.
but I can learn principles and learn ways. So
I like the way you explained it. You know, some people will be like, "Oh, it's so wrong for you to, kind of talk about someone else.
Yeah.
It's so wrong for you to even learn from someone else.
Yeah.
You don't equalize yourself with someone else, or you don't try to emulate or learn from someone else." I'm not talking like, okay, I'm going to be someone else today or tomorrow or learn from another person. Of course, for so many years, I've been in the ministry trying to also master what God has called me to do. So there is no need I'm going to learn from anybody. I pray, and God has, even shown me, or he shows me what to do and how to do it at any time. So the thing is, like, for some people who are upcoming and, not knowing what to do or where to go or how to start what God has called them to do.
yeah, got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, and it is not wrong for you to, watch people who are already in that field, learn one or two things from them,
Right.
and then add to what God has already given you, and then you run with it. Ministry of Jesus Christ is not what one person or two will not, accumulate and now circulate and be like, this is me. Not you don't even come
this
close.
This is how I do it, but don't you imitate me at all.
Don't you even try to come close.
Right.
One way or the other, you watch someone, you learn from someone. So circling yourself and be like, every verse of the Bible that you have gathered, nobody should preach it, or the person gets slammed, you copied me.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I don't know.
When you and I got married, and I realized you had a gift to preach and a gift to minister, and so I started gently, kind of pushing you out into the ministry a little bit.
You did.
And, I had been doing it for a few years, African evangelism. I'd been preaching for quite a long time at that point.
Yeah.
And so I had some things I could teach you. And
Right.
I passed on some of the things I learned from Billy Graham, from the Holy Spirit through Billy Graham.
Yeah.
So I told you, sweetie, whatever you do when you preach, be sure you lift up Jesus Christ. He's in the center of the sermon. Be sure you talk about the cross. Be sure you preach the resurrection.
Yeah.
But I didn't try to turn you into a little Dennis.
No.
There's no way that could have happened.
No.
So, for example, when I preach, I'm pretty much locked behind the pulpit the whole time.
Yeah.
I might just move out to the side of the pulpit for a minute or two, but I don't go wandering back and forth.
Okay.
And I'm sticking to my notes fairly closely.
Yeah.
And when you preach, you've got more notes than I do. But by that point, you pay no attention to them at all. You set them on the pulpit, and off you go, left, right, front, center, down the aisle, back. And I didn't try to make you do it my way. It's like, oh, Benedicta, you've got to do it exactly. That would have been the dumbest thing I could have ever done.
Okay.
I gave you some tips. I gave you some principles. Be sure you preach Christ. Be sure you preach the cross and the resurrection. And, I taught you a few things, but I did not try to take you away from the style God had given you.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to do. All right, let's get back to Paul. So, as his custom was, he went to the synagogue. And it says he explained and demonstrated, verse 3, that the Christ had to suffer and rise again from the dead, saying, this Jesus whom I preach to is the Christ. Now, you may be confused. Some people maybe. You won't. But some people would be there, say, Jesus is the Christ. I thought his name was Jesus Christ. And no, his name is not Jesus Christ. His name is Jesus. They called him Jesus of Nazareth. Christ is his title, which means Messiah or anointed one. So Paul is saying, I'm preaching Jesus is the Christ. He is the Messiah. He is the anointed one you've been looking for.
Yeah.
So he's proclaiming Jesus as the Messiah. And verse 4 says, some of them were persuaded, and a great multitude of the devout Greeks, and not a few of the leading women, joined Paul and Silas. So he persuades some to follow Christ, and they join with him, and they're hanging out with him.
Yeah.
But notice it doesn't say all. It says some.
Yeah.
Some
It's
were
like that.
persuaded. Some became believers, and some didn't. Well, that's how ministry is.
Yeah.
You're not going to get everybody saved.
No.
I'm not, you're not. Billy Graham never did. Paul never did. Nobody ever does. It just doesn't happen. Even Jesus himself made some disciples, and some people hated him and rejected him and walked away from him.
Wanted to kill him.
Yeah. So if your feelings are so sensitive that you think, well, if anybody rejects me, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be in a ministry where I get rejected. Well, you better just never even start.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get rejected by some. Yeah. And not just that some people won't get saved. Some people will not like you. Some people will hate you. Some people will criticize you.
Yeah.
And boy, if you don't think that's true, start a YouTube channel. And boy, you'll get slammed every day if you've got many people that watch your videos.
Okay.
So that's just how it is. The thing that keeps me going, and I've heard of at least one YouTuber that gave up simply because he got criticized so much.
Yeah.
The thing that keeps me going is, even if some do dislike me, criticize me, mock me, for the sake of those that can be reached, I'll take the criticism.
Yeah.
I'll take the mocking. I'll put up with it for the sake of those that can be blessed. And that's true in really any good thing you do.
Yeah.
You've got to have a thick enough skin to recognize, yeah, I know that's part of the way this thing works. I'm going to get criticized. I'm going to get mocked, hated, not hated too much these days, but in some cases, maybe so. But I'll do it anyway.
Yeah. The key there is to maybe one thing I kind of learned from ministry is like, you just have to keep going, keep doing what God has called you to do.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're not going to win everybody, but at least you'll win some.
Yeah.
And some will follow you. Some will also be like not wanting to follow Jesus Christ, while all of us follow Christ. At least somebody has to be at the forefront, like Paul was at the forefront, leading. And some people are following and becoming Christians and the believers of Jesus Christ. And so it is today. Many ministers of the gospel are leading the way, and a lot of people are following. And that is a very good thing, because all of us who are truly believers of Jesus Christ are going to heaven, and we're going to make it at the end. And so, we have to pray for those who are still unbelievers, right, not wanting to come, though they criticize, in some areas, but we can, overlook the criticism and pray for them. Because we need everybody in heaven.
Yeah, that's how God is. When God came up with this plan of salvation, which essentially it's an eternal plan, so he never really came up with it. It was always in his mind. But, God sees everything ahead of time. So he saw the people that would reject him, would reject Christ, would mock him and make fun of him. He saw all that, and he still felt it was worth it. For the sake of the elect, the sake of the chosen ones, the sake of people like you and me and others that come to Christ. For our sake, he's willing to be mocked. He's willing to be persecuted. Jesus was willing to die on the cross because he knew that some, not all, but some would believe and live forever in this wonderful family in heaven with God.
Yeah.
If you followed our ministry and YouTube channels very long, you know that we're involved in many different missions and ministries. We sponsor our popular African Jesus Conference, which is a video series of 20 different video Bible studies and teachings to train African ministers about the paramount importance of teaching and preaching Jesus, as well as personally abiding in Jesus. Benedicta and I create YouTube videos of our Bible studies, and we also produce audio podcasts of these studies. I teach a weekly video devotional on all kinds of Bible topics. We sponsor free medical clinics in Africa, along with providing needed food and clothes for African widows and orphans. We need your help. Please consider donating through our link in the description below this video.